welcome back. So, gotta hit the body. It's tradition. Back on the Outcast. Another one that I can't run. Couple of reasons why. No matter how much money I spend on this Arrma, every time I take it out, it's definitely a blast, but pillow balls are falling out. I've already tried Teflon taping them. Every time I run it, they still back off. I know what I have to do. I have to spend more money on it and buy the M2C blocking pillow ball caps. It's just, I'm tired of spending money on it. It's like, just run already. And every time I take it out, I get this. You know? And just a part of bashing hard. So, on this episode of Earl maintaining his fleet of RCs, will he go broke spending money on Arrma? Well, that's to be seen. I would have to say yes. I'm still working on the Creighton EXP diff. I'm waiting for some shims, so hopefully I get them today. But I need to put some shock shafts in because every one of my Creighton and Outcast have bent shock shafts. So I got some more M2C racing shock shafts, and it don't matter if you buy M2C or if you buy Arrmas. Arrmas are going to bend on a band landing, just not as bad as this if you use M2C. They might last a little longer, they might not. I've bent both of them, but I've sent them off some pretty sick jumps. So I got some shock fluids. I've got a 50 and a 4250. 4250 is going to go in the front. 50 is going to go in the rear. So we're going to see how this does. If you run the RPM front arms, which will stop them from breaking, you will bend shock shafts almost every time. Just because they don't have the limiting that this does. Now, I have a bent chassis here. That's one issue. But it doesn't matter because it is a basher. It's only bent right where the bumper mounts up. It's not affecting the suspension. So, with all that said, and all my money spent on RCs this week, because the reason I know this is because my accountant called. You guys know it's tax time. And the accountant told me how much I spent on RCs for 2020. And I'm definitely going to have to back off a little. Or I will be going broke maintaining my RCs. But if you're like me and you love your hobby, then spend the money. It don't matter. You can't take it with you. Just be reasonable. So, longer bolt goes at the bottom. This one is bent, as you see. This one, I'm not sure if I have the wrong one on here. I might have a rear on here. I might have a front on here. I don't know. I've swapped them around so much that I might have a long one in the front. I'm just not sure. But I am going to look because here are the rears. Here are the fronts. The fronts are shorter on the Creighton, I believe, rear. And you use the rears for all four. Or no, it's the front. No, I thought it was the rear. So this one's saying the front is shorter. So I think the shorter ones are used all the way around on the Outcast, I believe. I will double check it when I take these apart, but I believe the shorter ones are used, which says front, because this is basically for a Creighton, front and rear. But I believe the Outcast uses the shorter ones all the way around, versus the Creighton has longer ones, and I believe the longer ones are in front. But it's showing that the longer ones are in rear. So I wonder if the rears, the longer ones, are supposed to be used all the way around on the Creighton. But I'm going to look that up, because I got to figure out which ones I need to use with these. I figure I'll bust them apart, see what shaft lines up with what's in here, and we will go from there. I do have my bucket of junkyard diffs, so, and that's just because I have a place to dump fluid. So with all that said, I am going to take, see, and that spring's longer too. Yeah, see, that spring is longer. Yeah, it's definitely not that one. This is definitely a longer one. This might be a longer one. I know these two bent ones, I think, are off the front of my Outcast. So I believe these two that are bent were off the front of this. And I popped these off my Creighton and threw them on here. So I might have thrown the shorter ones up front when it should have had the longer ones all the way around. I think that's what I did. But I also got some of these because I broke one of these. I didn't really break it. I took it apart, left it on my bench, and my son threw it away. So I've got some of those, and I did buy extra complete shocks from Jenny's. So that's why I have two. So those two springs are the same. This one is a short one, which has really got me wondering. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bust these open. Hopefully I can bust them open and they're not too tight. I should probably get the dirt out of them first. I'm going to give them a quick rinse so I can get some of the dirt out before I crack them open. We'll be right back. Alright, I am back. I got them cleaned up a little bit, and we're going to get started now. You guys saw my Outcast when I first got it. The diffs did nothing but leak right out of the box. Two of these shock caps were cracked. They still haven't been warrantied. I did have extras, so I used my extras for my Creighton and sent the broken pieces to my local hobby shop, which still hasn't been reimbursed. So I'm emptying out the fluid. I'm going to let that drip a little bit in there. We're going to crack this other one open. Not this one. This one. Because these are the same lengths. Wow, that is tight. I don't know if I have. Let me grab some big channel locks while this kid's crying outside. We'll be right back. Alright, picked up some channel locks, yelled at the kid to tell him to stop crying. No, I'm just playing. His mom was out there having a hard time with him. I don't like when kids drop to the ground and start crying because they didn't get their way. Look, he's still out there crying. Wow. That one I cranked down. Apparently the kid wants to play on the swing and his mom just wants him to go for a walk. So he wants to sit there and drop to his knees and cry. That would not be happening with my kids. So, there we go. Fluid was nice and clean, I gotta say that. Wasn't low, definitely nice and clean. Kind of curious how I'm gonna get these shocks out of here. Now I did buy, like I said, these TLR pliers. They only go to 3 millimeters, so it's enough so that I can get these rod ends off of it. Did I get more rod ends? Yeah, I did. Just, it's funny, you buy this kit right here that comes with the shock rod ends and the shock spring holders, but you still don't get these little pillow balls. And my son threw it away, so the only way to get that pillow ball, from what I found, was to buy a whole new shock that's available. But even those parts are now hard to get. Actually, a lot of parts are hard to get for the Outcast now. So we got that off. I'm gonna go ahead and try to push this thing. Actually, I'm probably gonna try to bend this thing straight, or straighter. I am going to take this to the garage and hammer it straight because I don't want to ruin this bottom seal. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to hammer that straight. Alright, I hammered it a little straighter so that I could get it out of here without causing too much damage. I'm going to lay this down so I'm not getting grease everywhere or oil. Alright, we got that out. I'm going to need the little tool. The 7. So I can unscrew this. Should do some shock tuning while I'm here. Face that down. So it looks like there's a washer on the bottom side. There's my bent shock shaft. So what I do is I just match it up. So like I thought, it's the longer ones. So there's the rear. So we're going to open up these rears. M2C long shock shafts. So with that, we're going to slip this back on. There's the washer I was telling you about. Washer goes on, piston goes on. Your poly lock nut or your nylon lock nut. I'm using the 3mm slot on my TLR shock shaft pliers. Probably should have got one with a bigger cut in it, but I can always drill out the hole to make it bigger if I'm going to just use it on bigger RCs. There we go, got that nice and tight. And I just want to take a look in there and make sure there's no like dirty fluid. I would take more care, but I know I'm going to bend them again. There we go. Nice straight shock shaft. And then I'm going to leave that one like that. Here's our other clean shock shaft. Let me get this one straightened up. God, this one's bent like crazy. Well, this one is too bent. I can't hammer it straight. So, we are going to fix it up. I just don't want to ruin the shock body. So we got it off. Wonder what all this powdery stuff is. I want to save the shock body. I don't want to ruin it. And there we go. Slips right out. So that's what you do on a severely damaged shock body or shock rod end. Who knew you had to cut them to get a shock rod end replaced? This one bent off Big Bertha. Actually, both of them bent off Big Bertha. If you guys don't know what Big Bertha is, just look it up on my channel. Big Bertha claims some casualties. So, washer, shock piston. I should have checked the length. Let me check the length, even though I cut it. Just want to make sure that I'm not putting the wrong ones in there. Yep, that's the longer one. Yep, same length. I've bent so many shock shafts, I don't know what's what anymore. If you guys haven't checked out Chef Beardsley, go check him out. He did a whole, his thoughts on the X-Max. I don't agree with it, but, you know, it was fun listening to him talk, rant, and rave about how good the Outcast is. As I'm sitting here working on it, I'm thinking about what he said. And I did watch some of his older videos on his early thoughts on the Outcast. And a whole bunch of other people, by the way. But go check him out. I think his videos are really, really cool. He's been bashing really, really hard, which is really fun to watch. But when you bash that hard, everything's gonna break. I am living proof of it. I'm just cleaning up the centers of these springs, just wiping them off while they're out. Let me get this package opened up because I'm going to need some parts out of it. So I need one of those and a shock rod end. Even though I don't have a pillow ball, whichever one I bend, I'll pop the pillow ball out of. So, I think I got everything I need now. Yep. Next, we're going to be doing fluid. So, since these are going to be fronts, they are going to get 42.5. I mean, I should go to 50, Let's see what the consistency of this. Let me do an RC Guy garage check. Yeah, we're going to stick with 42.5. Got some plastic everywhere. You guys haven't seen me make a windshield for a Mojave, go check that video out. That was pretty cool. So we're going to top this off. Hopefully I got enough fluid. Usually takes about, I think, 2 bottles to do a set of 4 shocks. Yeah, that took half a bottle. There we go. So not only do you have the cost of the shock shafts, you got the cost of this expensive fluid to fill them up every time you bend a shock shaft. I just love how people bash on the X-Max when the X-Max never have to spend this much money to repair them. But that's the great thing about this hobby, is everybody's entitled to their own opinion. This fluid is like gold. So you pushed all the way in, the fluid's all the way at the top. So I'm gonna let these things sit a little bit. We're gonna let them vent. And as you see, my silica, this was a brand new bottle. I have enough for top off. That's about it. And yes, they're both brand new bottles. I just bought them so that I can do these shocks. And I would run 45 in the front, but Hobby Store was out of 45, so 42.50, that's what I'm running. And that's the reason I'm running 42.50 instead of 45. Because I would normally run 45 up front, 50 to 55 in the rear. All right, we're gonna let those things sit a minute. I'm gonna get this one busted down afterwards. I think this one is a short one, so I'm gonna get that short one rebuilt with one of these, and we're gonna let these things air out. I gotta find, I know I have more shocks somewhere, because I bought a set of 4, not just 2. So I'm gonna look for the other shock. I might have destroyed it and thrown it away. I can't remember, it's been so long. But I'm gonna let those things bleed out, and we'll be right back for the assembly. All right, got alarm going off, got phones ringing. Been about a half hour, I wanna say. So that looks pretty topped off. No air bubbles in there at all. So we're gonna get a shock cap. We're gonna start to screw this thing down, I believe. So I'm gonna deadhead my shocks because that's the way I like the shocks to be. I want the spring basically to do the work, and I want the chassis slapping on the ground. So all I'm doing is I'm going to get it close to the bottom, to where the seal's on. Then I'm going to deadhead the shock. Then I'm going to tighten it. And all I want is that rubber thing to push it back up. Then I'm going to grab my screwdriver wherever it is. What did I do with my screwdriver? Oh, here it is. I'm going to snug this thing down by hand so it deadheads without pressure so that it won't bend. It does have a little cushion where it's hitting the rubber and the air above the rubber seal in there. That's the air pushing it back down, and that's the way I deadhead these shocks. The bleed screw at the top is venting still. Make sure they're not leaking. There we go. Now let's do the other one. Shock cap. Everybody does their shocks different. All right. So now I'm going to take my adjusters. I'm going to put them all the way up so that it makes it easier to put the spring and everything else on. Same thing I do when after I take the spring off, I lower it down just to make it easier for the shock cap. Even them out. Oh, I gotta put the shock rod ends on first. And don't drop it. So M2C shock shafts are going to be installed now. I'm going to pull that one off. I think this is a short one to match that one, and these are the long ones. I still need to figure out if this takes the long or the short, so I'm going to grab, wow, the whole thing is turning. I'm going to grab the owner's manual look, or maybe just look up online, but I know they are different. Those two are rebuilt, and as you see, don't have a pillow ball in one. So the next thing we're going to do is get this shock out. So I believe the short is on top, the long is on the bottom. Yep. Get this out of here. And then, yep, these are the other length. The shorter ones. So I'm going to get these two rebuilt with these shock shafts. Will be the next. We'll be right back. So I don't know if that caught this, but 102 shock millimeters go up front. Longer bolt in the bottom, shorter bolt up front. The shorter shocks are for the the Creighton 8S in the front. Now, I'm not sure why they run shorter shocks in the front of the Creighton, considering they're the same RC, except the chassis is a little shorter on this one. I feel if I run the shorter shocks up front, that maybe I won't bend them. I know I bent this one on a Creighton when I broke a control arm landing on a rock. But I did run the shorter ones on here for a little while and didn't seem to have an issue with it bending. But I do have the M2C long ones back in here. We will see how they do. Again, I have bent the M2C ones before, but you never know. I got the 42.5 in there. I am going to pull out the rear, change out the rear fluid, make sure that I put the 50 in the rear. It's just that time with the weight I've added with the Coke can motor. I kind of want to thicken up the fluid a little bit. They run 500 CSD all the way around. And I just vary the weights. So I'm going to work on the pillow balls on this thing next. I don't know what I'm going to do to try to keep them in there. I've already tried the Teflon tape, like I said, but we're going to get that done. I also want to straighten up my bumper. My bumper's leaning down on this side. And then I am just going to go through the RC, make sure everything's good, put it on the shelf, and get it out bashing. Like I said, I'm just getting all the RCs ready for summer with parts that I have. I haven't ordered any parts recently, just because when I break them, I do order the stuff, but finding time to get them all put together is a little tough. But that's what this couple of weeks is going to be about. I've spent all week going through the RCs. I'm getting pretty close to finishing them all up, and we're going to get them all done. But there we go, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you guys on my next video. Thanks for watching.